I think I wish to go back to who I am. That is the most important story to remember. I serve Roman Canonical Church, also known by its previous name, Comitatus. Perhaps now I would prefer to ruminate on the Comitatenses, and only later will I return to the Comitatus itself, its purpose, and its history. The Comitatenses, we are soldiers beyond human. Some would even argue that we are no longer human, and perhaps from the outside, that's exactly how it seems. To me, when I donned the Talos, I have never before felt more human. Returning to the mortal form was limiting and dulling. I felt like half of my brain was missing, but I digress. I don't know where to start with this topic. Perhaps first with what we're capable of on the battlefield, and later, how we are made. The majority of our strength and abilities come from our symbiotic fusion with our power armor, which we call Talos, named after the ancient myth. We lend the machine our spirit, and in return, it provides us with a superhuman body to animate. Interestingly, the lifting strength of the Talos is equivalent to about 5 elephants. That's how much a Comitatensis can lift over his head. The suit does all the work. Its muscle fibers are nearly 300 times stronger than those of a human. The carrying capacity can actually exceed this. But at that scale, the limiting factor is not weight, but rather volume or space. You could strap enough material onto the Talos chassis to make it resemble a 3-story tall building, and the suit would still move comfortably. While that would be a hilarious sight, in practice, it's idiotic. It's difficult to catch the enemy by surprise when you're essentially a walking building. One might assume that the Talos is a slow, hulking monstrosity, about as fast as the aforementioned elephant. However, those who think so have never had a rampaging elephant chase them. While the suit can't necessarily outrun anything but the most heavily armored vehicles, its speed is definitely competitive, even among vehicles. No vehicle can make sharp turns around a corner, jump into a building to avoid fire, or dash across a forest, rock, and mud. I'm exaggerating only a bit, of course. Mud is still definitely an issue, and our ability to traverse it easily depends on the type of mud. You have to move very quickly in mud, or you will sink into it. Speed, agility, strength, endurance, technological sophistication, all in one expensive package. The power armor was not as important back in the day as it is now, however. Do not be fooled into thinking that it is the only weapon that matters. It is simply that under the earth, only type of soldier you can effectively wield is a heavily armored infantry. We also no longer have the economies of scale and industries to support massive aerial and terrestrial vehicle fleets in quantities that could shift the nature of warfare. No, the Talos suit is a perfect middle ground, giving you a bit of everything and a lot of basics, if all else fails. However, the final piece of the puzzle is the onboard logic engine. By logic engine, I mean the fusion of the pilot with the myriad subsystems of the suit, as well as personal enhancements. The result is practically what a pagan peasant would call a god. Flawless accuracy, near instantaneous reaction speed, and the ability to think things through carefully, even in the heat of a firefight. A cocktail of implants and drugs can stretch out an instant, making it feel like hours have passed. During this time, you can carefully assess your options and make tactical decisions. From my own experience, I remember that it feels like you're operating in a fog. Everything slows down and becomes surreal. You can see incoming projectiles and missiles and simply step out of their way or shoot them down if necessary. If you're in a situation where you need to do any of this, you've already messed up. However, the sight of absolute terror and helplessness in your human foes when you pull it off is intoxicating. Sometimes they simply commend their spirit to the Lord and stand there, waiting for you to pass them away. Another historical use for the Talos has been as a mobile heavy weapons platform. While its role in this capacity has diminished, the change is mostly due to the impracticality of wielding super heavy weapons in cramped tunnels. They're simply superfluous in such environments. In the past, however, we would arm the Talos with mortars, rocket swarms, rocket launchers, grenade launchers, handheld artillery, and anti-aircraft pieces. Basically, anything you could mount on an armored combat vehicle could be fitted onto a Talos chassis. The advantage lay in the unique angles from which the Talos suit could attack. Unlike vehicles, the suit could dodge enemy fire, dash into a building, climb the stairs to the roof, and then pummel the enemy to the ground with concentrated bursts of heavy machine gun fire. Or it could serve as a mobile mortar crew, dashing from one area to another. And if you didn't have a mortar, you could simply throw grenades. Given the strength the Talos suit provides, you could launch them far enough to essentially serve as a mortar, though a less accurate one. Though now a moot point, the suits are generally void-sealed and designed to allow soldiers to operate in various planetary environments. This adaptation enabled Martians to cope with Earth's stronger gravity during the era of Terran oppression. Mars engaged in many proxy wars on Earth, but these proxy entities were too weak to inflict any significant damage on us. Moreover, Mars couldn't deploy its own soldiers to Earth due to the debilitating effects of Earth's gravity. Issues such as severe seasickness and skeletal fractures were common. Their workaround was a modified version of the Talos armor. This allowed them to deploy small detachments of super soldiers to sabotage our critical infrastructure and conduct asymmetric warfare. They often hid within disgruntled states, leveraging their numbers without inciting a planet-wide war. This strategy proved to be highly effective. And that probably brings me to the true advantage of the Talos suit. A human being needs water, rest, food, and air, and suffers from fatigue, wounds, and injuries. The Talos suit drastically reduces all of these requirements, allowing the pilot to sustain action for many days without much rest. Imagine a human who never tires of running at full speed, doesn't get hungry or thirsty for weeks, can sleep on the move, and can carry an army base's worth of supplies on his back. Several measures contribute to these capabilities, many of them trending toward miniaturization. For example, wearers of the Talos suit have their limbs removed, which significantly reduces both caloric and water intake. In the past, we used to consume a type of goop or syrup for nourishment, but now, whatever your body needs is directly infused into your bloodstream. I've heard of modules that can even eliminate the need for breathing by directly oxygenating the blood. This feature serves as a failsafe in case your heart fails or you can no longer breathe. However, nobody uses this function for any other purpose, as it risks losing the ability to breathe naturally. We already have enough issues with food digestion as it is. Of them, in addition to basic life support features, some Talos suits can even turn invisible, although these variants are generally less armored and less powerful in other respects. Ability to adjust your temperature, blend into the background, noiseless movement. All of this is great and wonderful, but each such perk comes at the expense of the armor and suit's other basic capabilities. Our main advantage is not being invisible. It is being fast and sturdy, both. Like a mosquito, we draw blood and disappear before the enemy can swat us. Once the enemy hears of their ammo storage explode several hundred kilometers behind their lines, they already know what to look for. Our best hope is to run, Whatever the stealth capabilities you may have, with specialized tech, you will be spotted. The key is to not be there when the specialized tech arrives. Talos has been in service for centuries now, offering a wide array of upgrade and modification packages that allow customization based on current needs. While this level of complexity would typically make the frame fragile and hard to maintain, extensive engineering refinements have streamlined the suit over time. Although this process has resulted in some theoretical loss of effectiveness compared to older models, the reliability of the modern system more than compensates for these drawbacks. In a world where components are scarce and not always readily available, a dependable workhorse system is invaluable. For instance, the suit used to be purely mechanical, but now relies significantly on semi-organic muscle fibers for weight and strength. Unlike conventional materials, which eventually degrade no matter their composition, these fibers possess a degree of regenerative ability. This means that unless your limbs are completely torn off, you'll still be able to move. Given the diversity of functionalities and types, I think it's best to focus on the suit variant with which I am most familiar. If I had enough willpower, I would have materialized in this realm clad in my armor. As it stands, I'm barely holding on to my sense of self. My variant is optimized for combat against human targets and other power-armored units, unlike the version designed to combat the Sassanid infestation. The armor plating in my variant is much more expensive, engineered to withstand firearms, artillery, and rockets. In contrast, the pest control variant, designed for fighting the Sassanids, features cheaper plating that isn't built to withstand weapon fire. However, it is acid-resistant and easily replaceable. When fighting Sassanids, the suit incurs long-term damage quickly due to the corrosive nature of their attacks. So the armor plates must be replaced frequently, which would be cost-prohibitive with my type of plating. As for life support, my package is not optimized for extended operations. It's tailored for underground combat, featuring thick armor and systems designed to deflect missiles. The more I talk about the Talos armor, the more it seems there is left unsaid. However, I must point out one neat feature. You can customize your suit's appearance. While there are practical limitations, some freedom is certainly available. For example, I chose to wear a cape that draped over my right shoulder and extended down to my ankles. As for my helmet, I opted for a death mask that was modeled after my own face. Oddly enough, it didn't resemble me at all, and I couldn't figure out why. Then one of my comrades jokingly suggested that the mask lacked my pronounced eyebrows. After adding them, the likeness became surprisingly accurate. Once again, my comrade was right. He often was. He also had a purposefully annoying, sneering tone whenever he proved correct, which happened frequently. You wouldn't believe how irritating he could be. But God, how I miss him now. I will continue later on. Right now, I need to rest, as I feel like I am flickering in and out of existence from the pain. My master told me that Empyrean was the source of dreams, and that it was possible for someone to see you in theirs. I wonder if I am truly alone here, or by some machinations. There is someone who can hear me here. It is a foolish hope, but it is all I have.